Hi, welcome ladies and gentlemen to 75% of change. A percent of change indicates how much a quantity increases or decreases with respect to the original amount. And then the new amount is greater than the original amount, the percent of change is called a percent of increase. If the new amount is less than the original amount, then we're going to call that a percent of decrease. Make sure you get this down in your notes, the percent of change. The percent of change is the ratio of the amount of increase or decrease to the original amount. So the percent of change is going to be the amount of increase or decrease divided by the original amount. Make sure you're writing in the notes and that you're writing down questions you may have and trying to find the learning target of why are you being asked to learn this, or why are we doing this. Okay, so a first example is a percent of increase. And this is a percent of change, and increase, remember, is the difference. It has increased from the original amount. In 1993, 903 balloons participated in the festival, and in 2000, 1,019 balloons participated. By what percent did the number of balloons increase from 1999 to 2000? To answer this, find the percent of increase in the number of balloons from 1999 to 2000. So if we were to go through and look for the information we know, let me sneak this little tray over here. Okay, we know that we started out with 903 balloons. So that's going to be our original amount. And so we're going to put that down here. And then we know that we had 1,019 balloons the following year. I apologize for that. My dogs just saw somebody running with their dog up the street and was jealous. Okay, so we know that original was 903. And we now have 10,019 balloons. We need to find the difference. So from 1,019, we subtract the original of 903, and we'll divide that by 903. So we do that, and we end up with 116 divided by 903. The approximation is 128 thousandths, which equals 12.8 as the percent. So the number of balloons increased by about 12.8%. Okay, our example now is percent of change. So we're going to find percent of decrease. The percent of decrease from 512 to 320. So we need to find the amount of decrease, and we're going to divide that by the original amount. So we're going to take 512 and subtract 320. The goal here is to always find the amount of decrease in terms of a positive, and that'll be divided by 512. So 512 minus 320 is 192, and that will be over 512. That simplifies to 3/8, or 37.5%. So the percent of decrease is 37.5. It is important to note whether it's an increase or a decrease, because that could change some factors when you're evaluating or going back and looking. Okay, make sure you're pausing as you need to take these notes, and then play when you're ready to move on. So percent of change, finding a new amount. If you know the original amount in the percent of change, you can find the new amount. First, multiply the percent of change by the original amount to find the amount of change. Then increase or decrease the original amount by the amount of change. So here's the formula. Original times the percent of change will equal the new amount. Okay, make sure you get that copied into your notes. So we have the percent of change. Using the percent action sports, there are about 198,000 spectators at an action sports event in 1995. The number of spectators increased by about 12% from 1995 to 2002. How many spectators were there in 2002? So to do our solution or to find it, we need to find the number of spectators in 2002. We know that because that's what they asked us, right? As my line is not quite so straight. Okay, to find the number of spectators of 2002, we need to increase the number of spectators in 1995 by 12%. So this keyword here, the increased, is important for us. That's how we know we're going to be increasing it by 12. So remember how I had said we need to know if it's an increase or decrease. So we're going to take the spectators in 2002. It's going to equal the spectators in 1995 plus the amount of the increase. So how many spectators? We don't know, but we do know in 1995 we had 198,000. So let me try to write this out. And then I also know that it was a 12% increase for the year by the time I got to the year 2012. So I need to find the amount. I'm trying to write this again. And those are zeros, I promise you, just technical issues. And we're going to multiply that by 12% or 12 hundredths, which is the same. And let's see what we get when we do that. Okay, so we end up getting 2,300. Hey, that almost looks like a 3 this time. 76. So this number is going to be added because we're looking at an increase to the 198,000. So how many spectators do we in fact have? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I noticed one quick little thing. When I multiplied, I forgot to write the last zero, so it's actually 23,760 is 12% of 198,000. So I've corrected that. And so when I add 198,000 plus 23,760, I get 221,760 spectators in 2002. Make sure you pause as you need to and write down any questions you may still have. Okay, I went ahead and clicked to the next slide. It has it written out nice and neatly, so hopefully this makes a little more sense to you than my scribbles. And you'll see that they didn't actually tell you what 12% was of 198,000. They just used 12% times. You can do it that way as well, or you can find it and then add it so that you can say, does this seem reasonable? Remember, that's one of your most valuable math skills is, does my answer make sense? Does it seem reasonable? Okay, so percent of a change. Another way, in example 3, you can find the new amount is by evaluating 100% of 198,000 plus 12%. So you would say 198,000 times 100 plus 12%, which is going to result into 198,000 times 112%. For P increase, you multiply the original amount, which would be a 100% is the original amount, plus the P, the percent of increase. For a decrease, you're going to multiply the original amount by a negative P. So in this case, we had 100 plus 12% because it was an increase. If we were decreasing, we would end up multiplying whatever 100 minus, say, a 12%. So that would be 88%. So you would have whatever your original amount times 88% to reflect that decrease. Go ahead and take time to write this down. Okay, so let's look at percent of change, but we're going to be using finding a new amount. So for 1983, the average price of an audio CD was $21.50. By the average price, by 2000, the average price had decreased by 34.8%. What was the average price of the CD in 2000? So in 2000, they've set it up in wards so that we can see. And so if we know it was $21.50 in 83, and we know it's decreasing by 34.8. So we have 100%, and then we subtract the 34.8. So we end up with $21.50. It's going to be multiplied by 65.2%. Or we can change that to the decimal. And when we do, we're now saying the CD will cost around $14 and 18 thousandths of a cent. So let's see the 18, I think I might have mispronounced that, almost 2 cents. So 14.018. The average price of a CD in 2000 was about $14.02. Okay, so make sure you're looking and saying, you understand, see if you understand this piece. Why are we taking the 100 and subtracting the decrease amount? Where is that 100 coming from? So why are we using the 65.2? How is that the same as what we were doing before? So think about some of those things. If you are confused or lost, please come to class asking me those questions. I am there to help you. Oh, and you're not required to do that. So you guys can look at this just to see how well you're understanding and do you in fact get these answers, and come to class with your questions and your notes so that I can help you.